Let's start there as a way away from football to begin with.
What food?
Yeah.
You'll have me here all day if we're talking about food. But funny enough, the French are obsessed with their own food. If you don't eat the French food and you don't say it's good, like it's like you've just offended their entire life with it. But I will say the one good thing that I do like in France, I'm not a big cheese eater and they're obsessed with it. It stinks, but the wine is good. But I don't drink that much.
Yeah, as long as you can eat the smelly cheese, but as long as you've got a bit of wine to wash it down with, it's
Exactly. All right. You forget about it, but some of the wine, some of the cheese, we have sometimes have Christmas parties or like team get-togethers, and they bring this cheese, and all the foreigners are literally like, keep your stinky cheese that side of the table. There's about 30 of us on a long table, and honestly, we're all like, you put that cheese as far away from us as possible.
Go outside with your cheese now.
Literally, leave it outside.
Did you know? When you moved out to France, did you notice like culturally little things like that when you first moved? Like, was it instantly recognisable?
Yeah, like I always thought that it was just like this stereotype about France, and it wasn't even little things. Like it was big things. Like the girls at breakfast, they get like they don't have sliced bread for one. It's always baguettes, which is so stereotypical. But they literally do only eat baguettes, but they are really good. But they'll have a cup of coffee and a baguette and dip the baguette in the coffee and eat it. And the English girls are like, what are you doing? They're like, you can dip a biscuit in a tea, but not your bread, not your baguette in your coffee. But, like, so day one, I noticed like so many little things like that. Just the food that they eat. Like one of the girls eats couscous with milk and sugar.
Wow.
Yeah, that's standard, isn't it?
And they were like, you don't do that, and I was like, no. Someone put jam in their scrambled eggs. I was like, what the hell? What's going on here?
What's going on over there? I'm not quite sure what's happening.
But it is good though, because we're in France. So whenever we eat a meal, we have crepes with pretty much every meal. Nice. There's always crepes. Yeah, it's like, oh, you have to have crepes. Like they always do that. Like,
yeah. Broadening your horizons, it's like just a radical mind shift.
Yeah, literally, it's like such a mind shift. But even like just learning the language as well, the language is just crazy. Like everything is a girl or a boy. So if you say in French, like, is that your car? Like, how is it? They'll say like, how is she? Like the car's a girl. It's so weird to get your head to like process when they're talking in French and they're saying she and he about a car or a drink or something. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, like those little things. While it's sort of like it's funny how different that side of things is compared to sort of like what we grew up with or whatever. Like you must be kind of grateful now just for those little touches of culture that you've now experienced.
Oh yeah, definitely. As much as like we make fun of them and stuff, I do like being in France and yeah, like learning the different bits of cultures. And you know, as much as you always want to be right in what you do, you definitely can take things away from what, you know, like they snap every afternoon, like not even, no shops are open, nothing, like, and they're just like, just relax, Lucy, like your life doesn't have to be in a rush all the time. I can see why people retire in France and Spain, because it literally is siesta time in the afternoon. It's like, just take a breath and just calm down a bit. Whereas in England, everything's a bit gung-ho all the time, 100 miles an hour.
There's obviously a couple more English players out there with you now as well. Are you sort of their tour guide and showing them around and helping them settle in? Or
Yeah, well, 2 of them joined at the beginning of this season. So it was like, as in like last year, it's like September.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I helped them a lot, did a lot of translating for them and stuff, and showed them like, oh, this is what we do here, this is what you wear, whatever. And then another girl's just joined literally like 2 weeks ago again. So I'm now her like full-time translator. Like we had a meeting this morning for about 45 minutes and he was talking through videos. She doesn't understand a single word of French, so she sits next to me and I have to listen to him, like listen to what he's saying, so I take in the information, listen to him while speaking English to her at the same time. And anytime he says something and he thinks like English people don't understand, he'll go to me and go, Lucy, how do you say that in English? And then I'm like, you have to say it like this. So then he repeats. I'm like a full-time translator now. Don't know how I got that job.
Second job, mate. You got a second career going.
I know. I was like, I need to get that. I need to get the paycheck for the second job as well.
Is it nice? Is it nice having those, like, you know, some English players around you and having a bit of sort of home comforts around you whilst you're over in France?
Yeah, it is nice. And it's funny, to be fair, we all happened to sit together at the table when we had an away game the other weekend, and there's 4 of us on the table, and some of the girls are literally looking at us because, well, one of them, all 3 of them are from Liverpool, 2 of them with like proper strong Scouser accents. So obviously when we start chatting, it goes quickly, and the French girls are literally like, "Are you speaking English?" They're like,
"What are you lot saying?"
They're literally like, when the 2 Scousers speak to each other, they're like, "Are they speaking English together?" Like they don't understand what they're saying. So it's funny because when we speak to them, if we have to speak in English, we have to speak like this, so they understand, which is fine. But then we'll speak to each other super fast. So that's nice to be able to just speak normally and talk normal and not have to change the words that I'm using because they don't understand or something.
I mean, when we look at this year, mental for so many reasons, but another BBC Player of the Year trophy your way, second time you won that. Like, when you just look at everything you've achieved, it's a long list. Like, how would you describe sort of like the whole journey that you've been on and the wild world of football from your perspective?
Yeah, I don't know. I never really think of there being like a long list or anything. I always seem to be looking ahead. And I always say that because, you know, people when they retire, they say, like, when you retire, that's kind of when you take it all in. And you don't really appreciate things as they're happening. And I think I've never really appreciated the things that I've done or the things that I've won because I've always been focused on the next thing and the next thing. But I think my career's been probably quite different to other people's because I think I got put down a lot from the very beginning, and I was kind of the lowest of the low at some points, whether I was not playing, not being picked, being told, you know, the standard, you're not good enough kind of thing, or the injuries as well, to then going the complete opposite within kind of 5 or 6 years to the top of my game, playing in World Cups, winning awards and stuff. So kind of going, you know, the people who normally think of winning those awards are people who have kind of had a good, steady build-up of a career, not kind of one extreme to the other. But I think I quite like that because all the bad things that you go through, it kind of makes you work harder. It makes you appreciate things when you do get there or when you do win something.
How does it feel to be back playing again? Not just because of the pandemic, but also because of injuries as well. It's like you kind of had a double whammy of absences. So you must be just gagging to get back playing and being on the pitch.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing I say, kind of weirdly, but about being injured is like you appreciate so much more when you're then playing. You know, when I see the girls now who, a couple of our girls have done their ACL and stuff, and I just keep saying to them, when you get back, like, you're going to be, people always say you come back stronger, and you come back stronger because you appreciate everything so much more. You know, when you've missed something, you just try even harder. I think that's kind of what drove me a lot in my career was when I got injured for long time periods when I was younger. I was constantly thinking I was behind everyone. I'm like, I need to catch up. And I did that for about 5 years straight, thinking that I needed to catch people up. And in doing that, I kind of overtook everybody. So I think it was a blessing in disguise. But yeah, now having not played for a couple of months now and getting back in, it's just like the first couple of weeks, just like a bunch of kids back in school for the first day. You know, everyone's just buzzing about, and then they hit you with the fitness, and it's back to reality.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't know if you're the same, but we're all kind of done with like looking back at like the last 4 months and sort of like the head fuck that came with it. But I mean, do you kind of feel already a little bit prepared for that, given, you know, the time out with injury? You'd already had that sort of like that kind of like isolation almost. Yeah,
it's crazy because, like, I mean, the whole pandemic and even what's going on now is crazy. But at the point that I was at in my career, I've played, like last year, for example, we won the Champions League final with Lyon. And it was on the weekend. I then had 2 days off, and I went into England camp to prepare for the World Cup. That following weekend, I was on the bench for England when we played Denmark, and from that minute on, I went on, played every single minute of the World Cup in every single game. And then from the end of the World Cup, I had like a week off straight into my next season, and I played every single game for both club and country. And then they were like, right, football's been cancelled for 2 months. And I was like, sit back. Everyone was like dying to get back, and I was just like, oh my God, like I needed this rest. Like my body's just been non-stop go, go, go for the past kind of 3 or 4 years because of making, I mean, I would never change it. I made finals of Champions League, which is why I'm not getting the same rest as other people. I play every minute for England. I play every minute for Lyon, Euros. I play World Cups. Like it's the best career, but I'm still sitting there going, I'm absolutely knackered. You know, and I'm not getting any younger, you know. 28, so I'm the closer end of 30 now, so I need to start looking after myself. So it was like, for me, it was kind of a little refresh and a little nice to sit down and put my feet up for once.
Eat some cheese and drink some wine, mate.
Exactly.
Well, what did you do when you was off with your downtime? Whether it was when you was obviously with rehab and with your injury, but when you had those like moments to yourself, what did you get up to?
Well, I was glad that I was in England for the past couple of months. I got to go back to England. I don't think I could have handled staying in France on my own in my little apartment. So I was back in my house in England, just doing normal things. Like you kind of take for granted stuff like that sometimes, not being able to just do what people think is normal stuff, like painting the garden fence, like cutting the grass, like
boring normal stuff.
Yeah, like it's really boring and mundane, but sometimes it's just, you know, my life evolves around football. I watch football every game that's on the telly, every score I'm constantly checking, like men's football, women's football. I watch everything. So kind of have that break from everything. It was kind of like, whoa, and just paint a fence and just do nothing. It was kind of nice in a way, kind of like therapeutic.
Sort of that picture of the NHS scarf wrapped around Nala the dog.
Yeah.
How is it to be sort of back in Manchester? And obviously, like, that companionship goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it does even when you're playing football. You get to come home to a little dog that's just absolutely buzzing to see you. It doesn't matter whether you've had a good game, bad game, lost or whatever. But definitely in lockdown, it was so much fun to have the dog there. You know, you got to go out and have a little bit of fresh air to take her out for a walk. But even just, there was no football on the telly. There's so many bad things going on in the world, and just to have that something else to take your mind off it, and to just play about with the dog in the living room, chase around the garden and stuff. Just something different. I mean, I think I prefer animals. I prefer dogs to humans sometimes.
I bet not just physically, but with that break, not just physically, but mentally, it's so important for players to have that break though, right? To, you know, just to not think about football and not just be a normal human being and have that mentally just break from right to left.
Well, yeah, I think like during lockdown was the longest like sleeps that I've had for a long time. I'm not the best sleeper anyway, and it's not that I'm like under pressure or anything, but you're just constantly thinking about something. Say like this next week now, I'm up tomorrow. I've got to get up early because I've got to have a corona test in the morning. I've got to train, and then a bus leaves to go to Spain, and the next day I've got to train, and then I've got to get the flight to Spain. Then I'm in Spain, then we've got a game, and you constantly try to plan like your life around this and this schedule that you've been given, and to finally not have a schedule and go, what time should I get up in the morning? It literally doesn't matter. Like, whereas like you come back to football, and I think people don't realise that like you everything in your schedule's planned. Like what time I have breakfast tomorrow's planned, what time I have dinner tomorrow's planned, like what time I'm gonna go, what time I'm gonna have a shower is planned. Like everything like that's planned for you. So then to just not have to even think about those plans and what time you have to do each thing by, and just sit and just go, I'm just not going to do anything today. Like, it was quite nice.
I'm not going to have a shower. I'm not going to do nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
I guess that like players who have been sort of like brought up like that way for so long, it could go two ways, couldn't it? Like either you let off the leash, as it were, and you're like, I don't know what to do with my time, and that can be like, oh, I'm just going to chill in bed or whatever all day. Or the other side can be like, I've never had this much free time. What do I normally do with life?
Well, yeah, I think you see that when players retire, they're like, what now? Like, what next? Like, I remember, like, I think it was Kaz Carney when she retired after the World Cup last year. And then I seen her a couple months later and she was just like, it's so nice not having someone tell you what time you have to eat your breakfast at the next day. She's like, if I don't want to eat my breakfast, I just don't eat my breakfast. Like, if I want to eat it early, I just do that. Like, them little things. And yeah, it either goes one or the other way, doesn't it? It's either a new lease on life after your career finishes, or you're a little bit like lost. But like, what do you do next? I think that's what people always find difficult when they retire, especially.
Which side are you? Do you sit there twiddling your thumbs and get anxious, or can you just sit back, relax, and chill out?
I think I probably sit back, relax, and chill out. But I keep telling people I'm going to play till I'm 40, so I might end up not even being able to go anywhere. I'll be in a wheelchair because I'll have played that long. But I don't want to stop it until my body gives up. I'm going to still be on the pitch. I'm going to be one of them like clawing on.
Put me on for a minute. Put me on for a minute. You're 89. Go away. Piss off.
Yeah, literally.
You know what, to that point though, I listened to the that Insta live you did with Alex Scott, and I didn't know about the story of when you were like 18, 19 and what happened with your knee and then the other leg. That is mental.
Yeah, the whole thing that happened with my knees was just like, it's so long ago now that it just doesn't seem like it was even real, like to have gone through all of that at such a young age with next to no support apart from literally my mum and dad, which, I mean, thank God, like that kind of thing doesn't happen now. You know, if you're playing for England or you're in a quite any reasonable setup, you kind of get looked after. But yeah, back then it was hard. But that's what I mean. Like, that's why I was constantly thinking for the rest of my career, I need to catch up. And I always just had to do everything by myself because I thought, no one else is going to do it for you. You're just going to have to do it yourself, kind of thing.
For people that missed that story, Lucy, can you explain a little bit what happened?
Well, the beginning of it, I actually only hurt my left knee a little bit. It was really swollen, and it wouldn't go away. So I had an injection, but the injection caused an infection in my knee, which then I had my knee cut open. I mean, you can't really see, but I had my knee sliced open. Had to get washed out. I was in hospital, like on drips and stuff for a whole week. I was there, and then I was there a little bit. I had to come back and forth, and then I basically got told off England. Like, it was in March, and there was finals in like the summer. You're not going to be fit enough for the finals. See you later. Like, you're not getting picked. Whatever. Like, go home, kind of thing. I went home on my own. So then I was like, you're not telling me that I'm not going to come and play. So I went home, went down to the football field, literally down the road from my house every day with my dog. Went and trained, ran around the pitch, running. Like, I didn't have a physio or anything. And I'd lost so much muscle from being in hospital for so long that I didn't realise that I was damaging my other knee. I went to a Euros under-19s finals and a World Cup, under-20s World Cup, played every game in the end. So that was me proving wrong, like, yeah, I made it here. But played with this pain in my knee. Turns out that I'd torn my meniscus, but no one knew. Had surgery on that meniscus. It's meant to take 3 months. It took me 7 months. Got back after 2 months. Completely snapped it. So then was out for a whole year, which in this whole year, my physio I saw once a week. Bearing in mind, professional footballers have a physio basically on call like 24/7. I had a physio for 1 hour once a week who worked with divers. She wasn't even with footballers. So it took me a year. She was great, like she was good physio, but we got to running and she was like, so what's a football thing? Like, you want me to throw the ball for you? And I was like, yeah.
Come jump in this pool for me.
She like throwing it in my head, like, yeah, kick it. I'm like, never thrown the video on it. Like, yes, that was an experience. Got back from that. To be fair, though, that was when I got back from that. So I'd missed playing for nearly 2 years at that point. And Liverpool took a gamble on me, signed me, ended up winning back-to-back leagues with Liverpool. Hurt my meniscus again then when I signed for City, but it was just a tear. But I'd literally played like 2 games before then going to the 2015 World Cup, which then I ended up playing like a big role in, which people probably don't realise that I literally played like, I think, a friendly and a league game and a friendly game for England before going to a tournament. So that was pretty crazy. But that whole kind of 3 to 4 years together was just, my knees are just a bit of a mess, which is why I laugh when I say, oh, I want to play till I'm 40, because my knees sitting there going, you ain't playing till you're 40, mate. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 points to pick up on there. Didn't they also tell you that, like, right at the start, that you might have to chop your leg off? Yeah,
when it got infected.
What?
Yeah.
So, how far you come.
They tested it. So I went to camp, and the woman, the doctor tried to like pull out the swelling, the fluid in my knee. Went to pull it out with like this big needle out, and then the needle, she was like that, and she was like, it was like yellow. It was like just, yeah. So she put in like a little pot and was like, you need to go to hospital now, you need to go to emergency room. I was in London, sent me on the train up north. My mum picked me up from the train station in Newcastle, took me straight to the hospital in Newcastle with this little thing. So I've gone in, they've got it tested, and they've tested it, and they've come in and they were like, if you don't have surgery like on your knee, like you're gonna lose your leg like within the next kind of 24 hours.
Wow.
My mum was like, what?
What?
But they had said that maybe like the test hadn't been as good because I'd carried this around with me. So then they tested it again, and they were like, no, you're having the surgery because you like. So it was like,
right.
By the time they tested it the second time, it was close to like, it was after midnight. So I had emergency surgery on my knee. They woke up the surgeon, had a surgery at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Flipping out.
Yeah.
You're like,
that's when I had my knee cut open, and it's still I don't have an infection now, but my knee, like the skin's like weird on it, and I don't really feel it properly. But I remember my mum was just like, I was actually like, okay, I do the surgery. My mum was like on the verge of tears, like she's gonna lose her leg.
Could you not take it in then, or what was it? You just sort of like.
I think I've always just been like, I can't change it. Like, I can't just magically go, I'll not have an infection, because then it happened when I snapped my meniscus. My surgeon was in London, and the guy sat me down, and he was like, right, so basically you've snapped it and it's flipped onto itself. So your knee's like that and it's flipped in between. So he was like, we can't really see in between like your bones to see how good it is, whether we can repair it or not. And he was like, best case scenario, we repair it. You're going to rehab for like 9 to 12 months, but you'll be able to play, but your career might be cut short. Worst case, I have to take it out and you're going to be finished playing in the next 3 years. Bearing in mind I was 20 years old. And then he went, so he's the best surgeon in England, but he went, I've done this surgery twice. Once it's worked and once it hasn't. And my mum was in tears, and I was just like, okay, like, let's go. And then we did it, and I remember, I can still remember this day waking up, and I thought it was like someone had come in with a saw and just sawed my knee off. Wow. That was the pain that I was in. So I would woke up in this horrific pain, started crying because I was thinking, he's messed it up. What's this fella's messed it up. The nurses come in, like, shot me with some like drugs, like painkillers. He's come in and was like, it was a success, like, it's fixed, but you're going to be like, I couldn't walk for 3 months. I couldn't walk. I wasn't allowed to put my foot down. And like, I had to sleep with the brace on my knee, everything. And it took me like a year to get back. But it was the worst year of my life. But it's the best thing that I had. I'd rather have done that year than what would the worst thing could have been.
Yeah. When you look at everything that you've done, I don't think you fucking realise how incredible you are.
Yeah. It's mental. It's mental. How do you like with those setbacks and stuff, like obviously they've got to be a fucking strain on, like, for anyone, and like not just someone like yourself who's, you know, seems on the exterior super confident and go lucky and you know, accepting of those situations. But how does it have? Surely it's got to have a strain on your mental health, and like, how do you deal with those setbacks, like mentally?
I think at the time, like, it was brutal. There was, especially when you were at such a young age, and like I said, like the support wasn't great. That I had no one. Like everything was blamed on me. It was my body, it was my knee, so it was my fault, and I'm gonna have to do it by myself. And I think I am quite lucky that from a young age I've always been quite strong-minded, and my family have raised me to be like that. Because I do worry when I think if someone else had to go through that, I don't know how they would have gone through it. But yeah, like it's helped me understand things as I've got older. It's made me want to make sure that things like that don't happen for other people. But definitely there was times where, like I said, it was the worst year of my life, having to, like, not even being able to, I couldn't even move my knee, like I couldn't even move my leg, couldn't walk. I was having to rely on other people. Like, I was going to university, and it was at the same time that one of my best friends that I grew up with, Jordan Nobbs, who plays for England, she got picked for England, and that I was sat at home, like I couldn't even walk, and I had to be like super happy for her and super happy for my friends getting picked for England, when I was not only devastated for myself, but I was devastated that I was missing out on the same things that they were able to do. But I think that's why I think now when things happen, like if I got a little injury now and people are like, "Oh, you're not gutted," I'm like, nah, I'm really not gutted. Like, worse things could happen, and even worse things than the injury that I went through can happen to you. So I just think that's why I always say you just got to be grateful for what you're doing. And like, someone asked me like, "Oh, what's your motivation?" I'm like, I don't have motivation because I always want to be out there, because I missed so much when I was younger. Like, I've just always tried to look at it as something that's impacted my life in a good way, and try not to be too down on it. But it was, at the time, it was difficult, and I just think I was very fortunate to have a family that supported me really well.
Yeah, I think with that as well, it's kind of like, without you having that injury, as much as you don't want to be sort of like the sacrifice, the fact that you've had that injury, like you say, you can now use that to positively change the game. So, because, you know, on the male side, historically, you'd get, you know, first class treatment. And then when you say, if you're, no disrespect to the scuba diver physio, like, you know, it's a different world back then, and hopefully it'll be a different world in the future for all the right reasons, because of those experiences you've been through.
Well, yeah, definitely, especially now, like the age I'm at, I'm like a senior player in the England team and stuff, so I have a bigger influence, and, you know, I want to use that. I want to use all the bad experiences that I've been through, and I literally have a checklist when I go in. I'm like, right, you need to fix this, like, this can't happen again, because, like I say, I don't know if, yeah, some people get through it fine, but not everybody's going to be able to cope with the things that they have to go through in football and with injuries.
Do you feel yourself like being a little bit of a mentor or an advisor for other people, other players that get into situations like that, whether they're just as severe, or, you know, even if they're little injuries, but if you see people are down, do you find yourself naturally just having a little pep talk with them?
A little bit, but it's weird because I know that it depends on what the person's like, because I'm quite to the point. Like, if I was injured, I wouldn't want someone to be like, "Oh, you're gonna be okay." I'd be like, "Shut up, right? Just tell me that I'm having an absolute shitter. Like, it's messed up, but we're gonna, like, but it is what it is." But that's what I'm like. I'm just one of the people, like, it is what it is. I can't change it, so let's go for it. But I think sometimes that is hard to say to someone else, like, it is what it is. You're gonna have to get on with it. Like, doesn't matter. You can't cry. But there is times when, like, you know, like now there's like a young girl here who's a right back as well, and she's done her ACL. I don't say nothing to her, but like, I just keep an eye on her.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of advice. I think when you get injured, people want to like motivate you and stuff, but I'm quite like factual about it. You know, like, okay, you might be down, but I'm just like, just do your exercises, because you're going to regret not doing your exercise now. Next week, when the physio turns around and says, well, you're a week behind because you didn't do it today, even if you hate it. Whereas other people are like, come on, you can do this, like, work through it. And I'm like, some people don't want to hear that. Like, they know that, but like, you just need to be straight to the point and give them honest information that's going to help them. Definitely. So I think I do try and give advice, but I have a hard time trying to balance my logical head with their emotional feelings.
I think being just conscious that people work in different ways is probably the biggest win that you've got there with your mindset.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that I've probably had to work at as well, because I have been known to be quite to the point with people. But I think there's a fine balance, and sometimes you don't want to play too much to either side. You know, if someone's really emotional, they still are going to have a side of them that needs a little bit of logical to them, and vice versa as well. But as I've got older, I've definitely learned how to read people better, and to kind of to give off like the advice that I have, but in a way that's going to like suit them and help them, without giving in to this person that I don't want to be, that's just like babying someone for the sake of it. I want to be productive with it.
Yeah. When we're talking about where we're at now, and looking back at football and the future and everything that comes with that, and also worth mentioning, obviously, like I feel like Nike kind of like have that kind of shared output as a brand in terms of like being very driven, that kind of like mindset, positive, forward thinking, embracing sort of like those bad times to sort of move forward. How are you feeling now that there's like big occasions come back and you've got like Champions League ahead of you and stuff like that?
Yeah, like super. I mean, especially the club that I'm at, with the players that play at, like, these girls live for these big games. That's a whole season's like around the big occasion. So I think we were glad that it didn't get cancelled, because I know at some points there was so many things getting cancelled. So I'm glad that we get to play it. But I think everybody, and you look at the games that have already been played, and now going into this, like the men's games, like it's just, the competition is just crazy. And I think everyone's just excited for that.
I mean, it's a thing that only people like me and Pete and fans and stuff can only dream of playing in, like the Champions League. And we watch it on the TV, you watch it in the stands. And what's it actually like as a player to hear that music and to compete in a tournament such as the Champions League?
It's so crazy though, because like I've played in 2 finals now, and we won both of them, but they couldn't have been so different. Like, someone could tell you like their experience of it, but it just depends on the day. Like, it's like anything. Like, we turned up to the final 2 years ago. We went into, like, we didn't play well. Like, we was nervous. We went in extra time. We won it in extra time. But we was like super edgy. Last year we turned up and we were like, we're the boss. Right. Turned up, scored like 4 goals in like 30 minutes or something. Like, it just literally, because it's that one-off game, that one-off thing. Like, people even say, experience in Champions League matters. The year before, the girls I play with, some of them have won the Champions League 6 times, and they turned up this game nervous. So I'm like, you just don't know. Yeah, I was like, what are you nervous for? You've already got 6 of them at home. This is my first one. Like, I've got a right to be nervous. But it just depends. Like, it just depends on like each individual and stuff, and what you're going through, or how you've been playing. Like, it's that one-off game. It's a final. Like, some people, like, it's your one and only opportunity to win this trophy that everybody domestically, like, is hunting for. That it's just such a different game to any other game that you're playing. Like, it really is. I think maybe it's only like a World Cup final and a Euros final is probably the only thing that's probably better. But I mean, I've not played in them. But apart from that, you don't really have that same kind of rush going into this game.
You stepped right back into it with winning ways, already picking up trophies already, like last weekend and everything else. How did it feel to slip into a brand new pair of Nike boots?
Well, I'm not going to lie, but it's like...
Here we go.
Yeah, no, it's 40 degrees here, and we trained the day that I got my boots, I've been in the prototype for like all through lockdown and now, which I wasn't supposed to, but the day I put them on, I loved them. So I was like, I'm just going to keep wearing them until they come out, which I kind of got away with because we only had training. So I was like avoiding pictures and stuff. But I absolutely loved the day I put them on. I was like, these are sick. I was texting Nike, like, these are sick. I love them. I'm keeping them on. Like, I'm not going back to the other ones. I love them. I like they're probably my, apart from I had the CTRs were like my first pair of boots that Nike sent to me, and they were like the blue. They were like a turquoise blue with like yellow and black. They were my favourite. I think apart from them, these are the only boots that I've really loved. Because I kind of went through Tiempos, then I went through the previous boots, and I wasn't like, I liked them, but it wasn't like, there was always something that I wanted to change. Whereas these ones, I love them.
You still get excited when you get new boots, like a little kid?
Yeah, I do. I'm probably quite sad because I don't think the other girls do, but like I'm like texting like, what are the new colours? I want to see them. I'm like to the other. There's another girl on the team. She's with Nike, but she's with the Mercurials. I'm like, oh, these are your next new boots, and she's like, oh, sick, love the colours. What are yours? Like two little kids and like little 10-year-olds in the training and like playground. Like, oh, look at these are sick. Like seeing what the next colourways are and stuff like that. I remember when I turned to train, they were like, oh, what are your boots? What are they? When I had the prototypes and stuff. So no, I love getting new boots and trying new things, and yeah, and especially when like different colours and stuff and that come out. But these ones are my favourite, so hopefully I get to keep them for like a long time now.
What's it been like for you to work with Nike? I suppose like I heard about when you came home from back to Manchester during the just before the pandemic, like you had to sort of like get yourself kitted out because all your stuff was in Lyon. Can you like tap them up and get them to sort of like what's on the order when you like? Wow.
Yeah, I'd only planned to come home for the weekend because we gave them the weekend off because our game got cancelled, and obviously no one was really expecting what was to happen next. So I didn't bring no like running trainers, nothing. Ended up being at home for. I mean, I say it's home, but all my clothes are in Lyon. Obviously, I have a few things in Manchester, but not a lot. So I was literally on the phone after a week. I managed for a week, and then I was like, nah, that's not good. So I was like, I need shorts, I need the socks, I need boots, I need trainers, I need t-shirts. I just need normal, like, everything. The delivery guy was getting sick of it by the end. Because they come in, everything, it doesn't come in like plastic packets, everything comes in like a cardboard box. And it was literally like every other day was just a pile like to the height of the door outside of the front door. There was one day actually delivered somebody else's to our house because he must have just been that used to these night boxes coming that he's like, oh, it's Lucy Bronze again, just shove it at her house. He come back 3 hours later and was like, no, I'll give you something, it's meant for like somebody else. But I'd opened it and I'd been like, these aren't mine, so I'd left them anyway. And he was like, no, I just put them with you because you constantly got all these night boxes, I just thought it was yours.
I mean, that's one thing that like sometimes you don't hear athletes say, because it's like we'd all be like that if we had some kind of like relationship with a brand. You'd be like, yes, I want my sneaker collection to be absolutely rammed.
Yeah, my trainers, it's getting a bit too much at the minute. I'm having to like take some out, but every time I take some out more, I constantly order another pair. But it's funny enough because normally I like give them to like my little sister or like my auntie and my mum and that. But then when I was in lockdown, I give like my sister, I said, oh, do you want me to get you some stuff? So I got my sister's stuff, like my brother, mum and dad. And then I was speaking to my auntie and my nan. I was like, do you just want stuff off Nike? And they were like, oh, I don't really know if they do anything that we like or whatever, because they only ever see what I wear. They went on the website. I'm not missing. Their list was longer than everybody else's. My nan's got the Nike, the t-shirt with the hoodie, and she's got a long coat with the matching like strap bag because when she goes on a walk, she wants to put a phone in a bag. And then the trainees and the socks and everything. My auntie took a picture and was like, your nan's sponsored by Nike.
We need to do a photo shoot with her.
100%.
Literally, and then my auntie's the same. So my auntie's walking the dog, and my auntie's got like a Nike coat with the trainers, and then a matching bag that goes with the coat. You know, just one of the little like pocket bags. Yeah.
Amazing.
She's like, I put the dog's treats and the dog's poop bags in my Nike bag.
What a hero! Mate, when you're back over, 100% that photo shoot is happening.
100%.
I know, they'll be buzzing. They'll be like, oh, more free Nike stuff. They'll be so happy.
Just to sort of start to wrap this up, looking towards the future, other than ordering a lot more Nike stuff online for your family, what do you have in your mind? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to? Have you got any milestones you want to hit, or what does it look like for you?
I think obviously domestically, I've got the Champions League already. I've got all the kind of trophies in England and in France, and I want to continue that. I want to keep winning Champions Leagues. I want to keep making Champions League finals and playing cup finals and stuff. But I think, the day that from the very first game that I played from England till the end of my career, the only thing that'll matter to me is whether I've won something with England. I think being successful with your country is got to be the most important thing. It comes around once every 4 years, whether it's the Euros or the World Cup, the Olympics as well, with the Team GB. We have a chance, and it's something that no one's ever done with the women's. We haven't been successful. We haven't got that silverware in a competitive competition. And I think that's the last thing that's the thing that I need, that I want, that we're missing as a nation, but also on an individual level. I don't want to quit playing knowing that I've not won silverware for my country.
Yes, we all want that, mate, not just you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time, mate. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and we wish you all the best for the game.
No problem, thanks. Yeah, or games.
Games are hopefully games.
Yeah, exactly. Plural.
No, nice one, mate. Really appreciate it.
Nice one.
No problem, thank you.